Good morning, everyone. This is Brad Reitmeyer. I am the Vice President of Service Operations for Integra One. Welcome to our webinar conference on the Ruckus Remote Wi-Fi Solutions. Today I have with me MJ Evanson, who is a consulting engineer for Ruckus, to walk us through the product and solution set. Next slide, please. And again, just our recap of our webinar today on remote APs presented by Integra One and Ruckus. Next slide. Integra One, we pride ourselves on not just selling boxes, we sell solutions. So we want to help you through identifying your issues and problems and need for enhancements, walk you through the solution, help you select the right product, help you install and support that product as you go on through its life cycle. We cover very many areas in IT, including security, networking, technical and managed services, data center hybrid, and IoT solutions. Next slide, please. So good news, we offer local offices all over Pennsylvania. We've been in business here for 30 years. And we support a large number of verticals, including commercial, healthcare, state and local government, higher ed, and K-12, as well as many other small and medium-sized businesses in the tri-state area. And thank you for, next slide, sorry. Yeah, good there. Thank you for attending this webinar. Check your inboxes. We sent you a Grubhub gift certificate. If you don't have it, check your spam folders or your spam systems. Also, again, just to note that we only sent it to those people who qualify for it. Some people do not. At this point, I will go ahead and turn it over to MJ to walk us through the Ruckus Remote AP Wireless Solutions. Thank you, MJ.
Great. Thanks, Brad. Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate everybody jumping on. I know we kind of strange times and we're all doing this remotely, and even myself, I'm on a just so in case I disappear, I just want to explain I'm on a hotspot on my cell phone because these crazy storms came through Philadelphia outside King of Prussia area just last night, and took out 2/3 of a tree in my backyard, and so Wi-Fi is a little sketchy. It's actually non-existent right now, so hopefully everything will work fine and I won't disappear. So when you look at remote solutions, so all of us are kind of looking at trying to figure out how to handle remote users. And so if you work for an organization that sort of has VPN stuff and you've already done it and you've got remote users already, then you probably kind of walked down that path already. But there are basically two different ways to handle remote users. Your traditional VPN, that's just it ends up a VPN concentrator. It sits on a DMARC on your network, and most devices either have a client installed or they're using SSL to come in. And look on the upsides, it's been around a long time. It's very secure. It's usually SSL with TLS, or it's IPsec, and it does this thing of tunneling and split tunneling, and sort of explain what that is in a couple of minutes. The downside, well, you need the hardware. You have to have it already, and so I have to plan for it. And that's sort of the challenge everybody's been dealing with lately, is that they were not set up to do this, and now they've had to think about trying to do something to support a part of their workforce population or student population or whoever it might be remotely. The other way you can do remote support is just virtual desktops, remote desktops. Citrix has a product, VMware has a product, and literally you're connecting to a desktop that's hosted on your network, and that infrastructure provides a secure tunnel, and sort of it's a remote access in a box in a sense, in a way, and you're coming in just on a conventional machine, and it's giving you access to some piece of real estate, computer real estate, that's sort of identified for you as a user or a group of users. So when we look at sort of trying to handle this, so Ruckus came out with a product about a year and a half ago that actually has, it's a conventional access point, but it has a cellular backhaul. and it'll sort of explain why we're using this as a feature product to try and explain and help why customers handle remote access. Almost every vendor out there, Ruckus, ourselves, Cisco, Aruba, they all have access points that you connect remotely, and in some cases they let you do that in a secure tunnel, which is the way you always want to do it, and some don't. Or if they do, the performance is not that great. But it always assumes that your source network is somebody's house and they've got broadband already in place. Unlike me right now, which I don't have broadband. But if you don't have broadband, then you kind of got a challenge to actually give your remote user or student or whoever it might be the ability to actually connect back to your network. And so that's what this product does. It's sort of targeted at giving you a cellular network connections. AT&T, we actually do support T-Mobile. We're working on some other versions of it. When you buy it, you actually have to come up with a data plan that goes along with it. But what it does is it gives you an SSID, and since I can manage this on my network, so if you're a Ruckus customer, you've got a smart zone already deployed, then I can manage this on my smart zone. I can actually radiate the SSIDs that I had in my organization. So if I'm a school district, the student SSID or the faculty SSID, if I'm an enterprise and whatever it might be, the wireless network, that would actually be radiated inside this remote person's home. So it kind of simplifies the deployment process, and it also allows me to manage it. It allows me to apply control and maybe curtail some of the visibility that a device coming from that network can see. So because you don't always know, where that person's sitting in their house, the person sitting next to you in the next house over. So in this approach, you kind of want this ability to have tunneling, split tunneling. We call it split tunneling. That allows me to see a local printer, for example. If you've got a product that doesn't do split tunneling, then I can't even, once I'm on this product, I can't even see a local printer, which is kind of defeating the purpose. It's a little annoying sometimes. I mean, I've seen organizations or even users who've sort of emailed a document to themselves on a private email so they could print it, which you really don't want to do that. You want to actually enable split tunneling for some services, maybe, if that makes sense. And and anything that's going out the internet, just let it go out the internet instead of coming all the way back to the school district or corporate headquarters. Now, really driven by whatever your organizational policy would be. So you sort of design that, allow it or disallow it based on how you really want to run that network. Here we've got this, for example, maybe this is a school district or a business, and I don't want to allow Facebook, but I want to allow LinkedIn. I want to allow this person on this remote network that I'm radiating in their house the ability to go to YouTube, but I want to block some other websites. But I also want to allow them to come back to my network through a secure tunnel, IPsec tunnel, so that traffic is secure coming back to me. I can manage all of that through my smart zone. So what do you need to do this? So a smart zone can actually come in different kind of flavors. On the bottom here, we've got a slide. It's a physical appliance, smart zone at the bottom, but that appliance can be virtual too. And then along with that, to handle the tunneling component, the IPsec tunnel that allows the traffic to come back from the student's house or the remote user's house through a secure tunnel back to my location, your corporate location or the school district, you need something that actually handles that tunnel. And so the virtual smart zone D is called a data plane. Well, there's an appliance version of that. So it allows me to aggregate all this traffic back on my network, still all the while managing it through my smart zone. So I've got a single point of policy enforcement. I've got a single point of applying what networks are visible in that location. So I could put them all in a single group. I could apply a policy to that group, and I could have just a special SSID that's being radiated on those access points that are remote to me. So just a couple of features. So it's tunneled. So it's an IPsec tunnel. I'm managing it through my smart zone, and we apply quality of service. So that's inside the IPsec tunnel. So admittedly, when you, even no matter what marking I kind of put on the traffic, it's coming back to me. It is always subject to whatever Comcast is doing. So, Comcast, they're kind of known for not unilateral traffic patterns. So they kind of give you a couple of 100 megabits down or 150 down, but they give you 5 or 6 a dribble upstream. Whereas Verizon sort of, if they give you 150, it's 150 both ways. So depending on the upstream, you might be always subject to whatever the ISP carrier is kind of doing with the traffic. But inside the tunnel, it's got QoS applied to it. So are there any questions while we got to this point here? Okay, we'll keep going. So looking at some deployment scenarios. So you can deploy this a couple of different ways. I'd have a smart zone in my data center, centrally located, and I might have several branch buildings and some remote locations. And you notice a little purple box, so pink box. That's the virtual data plane. So this is assuming I've deployed a virtual smart zone, and I've got this virtual data plane and it's located where it makes sense. So I don't have to tunnel all this traffic back to where my controller is. They can actually be in different locations. And so I put the VSDs where it makes sense from a traffic pattern point of view, and I put the control plane, the controller itself, where it makes sense for my network, to manage my network. An alternative to that would be centralized, where I can put the virtual data plane, you notice that, and the controller are in the same place. And then in my remote locations, I've got Joe's house, and Sarah's house, and Olivia's house, or her cabin, shall we say, and a branch office. And all those access points, if these could be wired, these could be cellular, it doesn't really matter. This line could be a physical ISP connection, or it could be a cellular connection, it doesn't matter. All managed through my smart zone. So as I mentioned this before, so the M510, so if you look at it, it's got a couple of dipole antennas on it. That little box with the thin wire on it is the cellular access point. And interestingly enough, this device can be powered either PoE, it could be powered with an injector, or it could be powered with a 12-volt DC source. And you notice on the bottom right-hand corner, there's that little green block. I can actually power it with DC 12 volts, and that'll make a lot of sense to you in a couple of seconds, because it allows me to put it in, say, a motor vehicle, for example. And we've actually have customers who have mounted these devices inside customer service buses. So a couple of casinos, a couple of hotels that have remote parking lots. And they've got customers coming through again who have loyalty applications on their phones. And so those phones understand the networks, the wireless networks that are inside those facilities. And they get right on the network right in the bus that's bringing them from the parking lot to the casino or to the hotel or to the whatever the attraction is they're going to. So it can be powered off the battery and it's actually inside the device. So specifically here, just to drill down a little bit on the cellular components of it. So I've got this access point sitting in a remote location. That could be a house, it could be an outbuilding, it could be wherever I can power it. And it's coming back over the cellular network, AT&T, back to my smart zone. And my smart zone is, because I've got a physical smart zone here, the physical smart zone, this controller actually handles tunneling too. So that's why I don't need a VSD in this picture. But the concept is still the same. I've got tunnel traffic that's secure, IPsec encrypted from a remote location. That access point is radiating, advertising the wireless networks that are in my corporate headquarters or my school district. And I don't have to come up with a plan to try and get those networks out there. I could literally, the employee or the student could pick up their Chromebook or their corporate assets and take it home, and it will recognize instantly the same SSID that's in their corporate office. Another case, another sort of application here, when you look for this, this particular product, mobile networks, pop-up retail, temporary networks, trailers, and things like that. And we have one that we've been working on with a lot of customers where we call it Yellow Bus Wi-Fi. So I thought the little cartoon here, and children used to have one of these little buses, and their little characters would sit inside there, and you could actually push this thing around. It's kind of like a foot large, foot in size. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a picture of that. But the ability to put Wi-Fi on buses. This article is that in the U.S. there's 480,000 school buses. So those school buses in the last 2.5 months have been basically sitting there doing nothing. And we've had actually several school districts approach us looking to use this product to use the school bus as a remote study hall. And so they've mounted an access point inside the school bus. They're powering the access point off 12 volts inside that bus, and they drive the bus to an advertised location that they've actually pushed out to all of their students, for example, part of the district, and they allow them to go and they've repurposed the bus a little bit. They've controlled the number of students that are hopping on the bus, 10 at a time, so they can do social distancing. They might have also driven it to parks when not the weather's warmer, and they're controlling and managing access and trying to make sure that students, when they use it, aren't clustering together and things like that. And so over LTE, they actually now have the ability to provide the same wireless networks that are inside the school district out on this bus in some remote location. And it's been a boon for some school districts, especially in remote parts of Pennsylvania. For example, south of Harrisburg, there are school districts down there that don't have broadband access. And it's been a huge challenge to try and push curriculum to them, to their students, and to get back assignments and things that have been done by students back to teachers. So this has been one way to try to approach that. Just as an aside, another interesting idea, this is several school districts around North America who have created Wi-Fi parking lot Wi-Fi hotspots. I've actually worked with a couple of school districts that are southeastern Pennsylvania out to Harrisburg direction, where they've mounted access points, outdoor rated access points on the outside of the building. And so students and their families would drive up, the middle diagram, the bottom there, trying to cover a parking lot. And so they would drive up with their parents, and they would come sort of pull in the apron where they'd normally go in the morning, and they'd upload their assignments, and they would download the next series of lessons because they don't have broadband at home. All the coffee shops are all closed. They're starting to open up, but in the first 2.5 months of this situation we've been in, they weren't open. And they could actually then drive through and pick up any, maybe they've got meals that they're picking up, bag lunches for the, the 2 or 3 lunches for the week until they come back 3 days later. So just another approach. So instead of actually doing an M510, which is a cellular backhaul back to a smart zone managed network, this is a way to put Wi-Fi coverage on the outside of the building to cover parking lots. Still, again, radiating the same net wireless networks that are inside the building. And so the student who's gone home with their Chromebook, the Chromebook just sees the same network, it understands, it knows exactly where it is. And it allows and offers some services to students who are in places where they just don't have broadband access. So that's about all I have to say at this point. So Brad, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Okay, thank you, MJ. Great presentation. I definitely see the value in what Ruckus is having to offer in the technology side for remote access. Pretty clear in today's times, and of course, when this is all starting to normalize, those things are probably still needed. If there's any questions you'd like MJ or myself to field, please feel free to hit us up in the chat. Give you a couple here to see. I don't see anything coming in right now, but if there are anything. All right. Otherwise, please note that Integrity One does offer very many virtual events right now. There are a couple scheduling come up. We'd love to see you attend, and hopefully this one and future ones will be informational to you. If there are any questions about the Ruckus wireless products or any of Ruckus's products in general, please give us a ring. We'll be more than happy to help you out with answering those questions and discussing any product sets they have to offer. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate it, and stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.